I decided to subject myself to the Dave Chapelle stand-up special on Netflix. And, this is his, I don't know, 18th special, 6 out of however many, 5. I don't know how many there have been. I have watched them all and then quickly tried to forget that I just watched them all and then go back and, watch an early Dave Chapelle special and cleanse my palate and sort of say another prayer, because the goat that I once knew has fallen off. And I gotta say, I really wanted to avoid talking about this. The online discourse, as it were, is never good. It's never healthy, and especially about Chappelle and especially about this special. It's endless. And yet I also feel like it is messed up to only wait for, let's say, trans people or Black people to be the only ones talking about the special, or like waiting to say, well, I shouldn't have an opinion because if it's okay with this community, this monolithic community, then it must be okay. And that's part of my critique of the special generally. For someone who is so upset that there are, racial hierarchies and white supremacist hierarchies, he sure does a great job at reinforcing gender and sexual construct hierarchies. Like, so it's that, and it's a lot of other things. And I want to, briefly talk about it, but mostly, you guys know when you first of all, if I were a big name comic, I wouldn't be talking about this. You guys have to know that, right? Because every comic you like, every other comic you watch, their Netflix special, they're not going to say shit about Chappelle because they work with Chappelle. They like him and they want him to like him to like them, right? That's the point. That's so, comics, for as much as we are lauded, we're the truth teller. You can't cancel me. The one person that we can never say anything against is our fellow coworkers, our people who we are desperate to either get a work opportunity off of them, to shoot the shit with them in the green room, to be cool, to be down, to never criticize one another. And you see that a lot. And so if you're waiting for kind of your big name comics to come out and say something about it, they won't. Because that's someone that they're trying to rely on. Look, we don't have HR in this industry. It sucks. We have only sort of weird fawning goodwill and like sycophantry to go on. And that's sadly, a lot of entertainment industries are like that. But it is a sad special because you're just like, it's an hour and change and you're like, this is a therapy special for you. This is just you working out your own issues, understanding what it is or not what it is to be trans. This should be whispered under, in your little blanket fort. This is not, and yet because he's a megastar, he can sort of openly wax about it and not be accountable for the things that he says, right? And he gets laughs. And of course, a great comic friend of mine, Curtis Cook, said it's funny that Dave Chapelle ran away from his $50 million Chappelle Show to Africa only to become the person that he was running away from that whole time. The reason I say it's sad is because, again, he openly says he's transphobic. He openly basically is like, I'm tied to the gender construct. And it's so boomer. It's like, oh man, here's this dude who at one point in his life was so open-minded and he's just old. This is an old, stale take. And the jokes, some of them are funny. Even the fucked up ones are funny. But a lot of them are bad. A lot of them don't even hit good, right? So there's that. And then I'm meandering here, but the one thing I will say is that you can't say that he's just a comic. He's just a comic. These are jokes. They're not jokes because he really is. You can see him. He's really trying to figure this out. He's like, he wants to quote unquote solve the issues, right? He has issues with the trans community. He has issues with the LGBTQ community. He has issues with the people who've confronted him in private, and he wants to solve it. And his solution, it feels like his solution is saying like, well, we can only do one oppression at a time. We can only fix one oppression at a time. It's very, very, very two-dimensional. But what I'd say is you can't say that it's not that it's just comedy, because it's not. He's really trying to fix it. And that's where I'm like, dude, do you not have like a black queer feminist in your life, or like a black trans queer feminist in your, like, meet more like black lesbian comics, you know, black lesbian feminist comics. Like, I know some who've literally opened for you, but instead he talks about the trans woman who opened for him, who then later took her life. And he talks about her, and this is his closer of the closer. And I gotta say, I was really disgusted by that story, because he basically openly says it is like someone saying, look, this black person laughed at my racist joke, ergo I'm not racist. And that's what sort of Chappelle is saying. He had a trans woman laugh at every single one of his jokes, was a fan, went to every single one of his shows, found out she was a comic, but not really a comic. She'd done 8 shows in her life. So not really a comic, just a big fan of his. Just a big, big fan. Again, part of a Chappelle almost cult. Had her open for him, did 45 minutes and bombed the entire time. Of course, a comic who's done 8 shows is going to bomb for 45 minutes, then goes on and takes her own life later. And he blames essentially the online discourse, the other trans people, for the reason that this trans person took her life. I mean, it's just like, it is insane. It's, you trotted someone out, used them as a prop, said to her, you should open for me every time I come to San Francisco. Almost as a prop. And basically to make him look good. Because here was one trans person who didn't have a problem with him. The bad faithness and the disgusting tokenism that is I find truly crass and cynical. And he says she's part of his tribe. She's not even a comic. I don't even know what tribe you're talking about, bro. Anyway, if you want to hear a straight cis man talk about the LGBTQ community for an hour and a half, definitely watch the Chappelle special. Other than that, man, RIP to a real one, to a guy who used to be great and who somehow, instead of working the shit out in therapy or accepting trans people, accepting the fact that he'll never understand what it's like to be trans, has decided to make millions and millions of dollars off of making them the butt of every single joke of his. So it's sad to me. It's just sad. It's just sad. He's still a good performer. He's an okay writer, but it's just sad. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.